My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast, and...
What's this all about?
Oh...
It started!
Goodbye, Canada. So, we're back, and it's not MasterChef, it's not British Bake Off, we're waiting for that.
Yeah.
It's not Australian Bake Off, because that's not on yet. So, what we decided we needed to do was... We needed to get back to our roots and do a bit more Bake Off, though, and Canadian Bake Off is out there. Now, I'm not going to say how we've got it.
No.
It's in the ether. It's in the universe somewhere. It's like the A-Team. If you can find it, maybe you can watch it. So there might be people in Canada...
I pity the bakers. So
there might be people in Canada listening... wondering what the fuck is going on.
Fuck it.
So just quickly, if you happen to be listening in Canada, we do Australian Bake Off.
We do Great British Bake Off.
Great British Bake Off, Great Australian Bake Off, MasterChef Australia. And
we've been podcasting now for a couple of years.
Yeah, and again, Australian Bake Off's kind of our thing. And Canadian Bake Off, Great Canadian Baking Show. We have to get that right.
Yes.
No, we don't. It's fucking Canadian Bake Off. It just seemed to be the next logical step, and
because we needed an antidote to MasterChef,
Australia,
which is
it's
not a happy place.
We're over it.
And we needed something that was going to be happy, and like let's just say Bake Off is the Canada of the world, because
it is.
We know that Canadians are nice people. And
everyone loves it,
and everyone loves Canada.
Yeah, and everyone loves Bake Off.
So this has got to be the nicest show on TV, because it's both Canadian and Bake Off.
So we decided that we were watching the first episode of the season 1.
Yes.
And
just for the shits and giggles.
Yeah. Again, through the ether, it came to us in a dream, and we fever dream the same episodes of TV shows. It's how we watch them. So we decided that about halfway through episode 1, we need to do this.
Because the people are awesome.
And interestingly enough, if you happen to be listening in Canada, and I would be stunned, but if you happen to be, there's a core group of people on Twitter here in Australia who sort of tweet with us through MasterChef and Bake Off. And we sort of put the call out to them in terms of, do you want us to do this show that pretty much none of you have seen? And the resounding answer was yes.
Yeah, Queen.
So this will be interesting. We're podcasting something that most of the Australian audience hasn't seen.
Yep.
This could be fascinating. And for you in Canada,
yes,
you've seen it, you know what happens. So this will be fun.
Yeah.
So let's go through quickly, and first of all, let's talk about the contestants.
Indeed.
Because it's a fascinating series of contestants. So you've got Corey, who's the human rights lawyer from Toronto.
Yes, now Corey, kind of short, dark-haired dude, glasses, has a lovely partner. I don't think
cool.
He and his partner are married. Seems pretty cool.
James is my spirit animal. And we're going to talk about James a bit later on. He's 45, he's a physics professor, and he's from Richmond in British Columbia.
You have kitchen mess envy.
Yeah, I have kitchen mess envy because in the last series of Australian Bake Off, Marcus had a ridiculously messy bench, and I thought we connected on a deep level. But James is next level.
Oh my God, it is. It's like, you know, when you watch those kids' movies where they've staged that the kid's been cooking in the kitchen, and it's crazy messy. Like, he's just naturally produced this.
Dan Levy, the host, who we'll talk about in a minute, referred to the floor at one point as a Jackson Pollock, and I thought that was lovely.
And what was lovely is they're going, you know, I kind of regret wearing a white shirt near you, and just at that moment, like, flour just puffs out of the bowl. That
you have Jude, who is a retired animator from Victoria, British Columbia, possibly the most Canadian person ever.
I'm sure she pees maple syrups and poos pucks. You know, like, she's that Canadian.
Poos pucks, love it. Love it.
She doesn't drive a car. She has a moose that she just rides in on.
Her morning wake-up alarm is Don Cherry.
Yes.
So this is good for me too, by the way, because as a massive hockey fan, I can drop all my hockey references, and Kristie can nod along.
I know some hockey. Like, James, for example, lives in Toronto, doesn't he?
Yes.
Go Leafs. See?
And if you live outside of the Toronto bubble in Canada and you're listening to this, you hate her now. So, all right, Julian, who's a contractor from Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Halifax, where lots of bodies from the Titanic washed up.
There
See,
we go.
I'm full of Canadian.
Dropping the Canadian knowledge bombs.
Yes.
So, did you know that Halifax is where a lot of Titanic dead washed up?
And parts of the boat and stuff.
Did you know?
Did you know? You do now.
So,
Keeping it light, keeping it entertaining.
Linda, who is a payroll supervisor from High River.
Got nothing.
No.
I presume it's a river that's really high up in a mountain.
Pierre. Now, this is the one time we're going to get to talk about Pierre. Interestingly enough about Pierre, there's a few things about Pierre we need to talk about.
He's a butcher, baker, candlestick maker.
No, Pierre's a retired dentist. Dentists seem to have a bit of an affinity with this damn show.
It's like accountants and dentists are your prime baking. Like,
well, the dentists, as we've said with the Australian series, in the last series there were two of them. It's almost like they're creating their own business.
Yeah, they can call it Sweet Tooth. Just give them cavities and then fill them up.
So
just don't mistake the dental like cement for buttercream.
So Pierre's from
These cupcakes are delightful.
Pierre's from, as you might expect, with a gentleman called Pierre. Pierre's from Quebec.
Ah, Quebec.
So,
oui, oui.
Sabrina. Right, Sabrina's the graphic designer from Montreal.
Not a teenage witch.
No, and they're like, interestingly enough, for Canadian Bake Off, though, and again, I'm going to keep calling it Canadian Bake Off because that's what it is. Sabrina, the youngest of the bakers this year, and they're like selling it. And I was listening the first time we watched it. I was just listening to that bit when they talked about Sabrina being the youngest of their bakers, and they're talking about her. I'm going, oh, cool, she'll be nice and young, and blah 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 blah. She's 24. In the scheme of Bake Off, that's old. That's really old. Antonio,
16.
Tender age at that point, yeah.
Yes.
And again, she's from Montreal. Sinclair, the optometrist. There's a lot going on with him.
He has got the most amazing mannerisms.
He's intense.
He looks perpetually surprised, but intensely surprised when he's getting like feedback.
He's from London, Ontario.
He's an optometrist.
I wonder if that's sort of why he always looks really surprised. He's got his own glasses wrong.
He's just like myopic. He just doesn't.
Yeah, he's like, every time they show him, he's leaning in very intensely, and his eyes are about 5 mile wide.
Maybe because he's the best optometrist in Montreal.
In London, Ontario.
Ontario, sorry.
Yeah.
And he cannot. That's right. He's London, Ontario.
Yeah.
And he can't get anyone else to like do his prescription correct because he needs himself, but he can't do himself. So
then there's Terry, the domestic engineer from Edmonton.
No. I have a theory, okay?
Go for it.
This is actually Terry Irwin, okay? In disguise. You take Terry Irwin out of car key, would you fucking recognise her?
No.
So I reckon she's thrown in some contacts. She's pretending she's got 3 daughters, you know, how to, and like engineer. That's completely opposite to what a wildlife conservationist would be. So I reckon it's Terry Irwin.
It's an interesting theory.
She's like, I'm not American, I'm Canadian.
And Vandana's the last one, and she's the chief financial officer from
Experience Regina.
Regina. Experience Regina. If you've never watched Dan and Jay, or Jay and Dan, sorry.
You have no idea what we're talking about.
You got no clue.
Go to YouTube.
So go to YouTube, type in Jay and Dan, and just enjoy.
Or just look up
that is Experience Regina.
The tourist bureaus.
So yeah, she's from Regina, Saskatchewan. And
it's Regina.
Again, all you did was giggle every time they said the word Regina.
Well, it rhymes with
go
vagina.
Go Pats, go. Anyway, our hosts for the show. Now, the hosts are really important in this, as we've said. For us, there are no finer hosts on the planet.
Mel and Claire.
Than Mel and Claire for the Great Australian Bake Off. Obviously, with British Bake Off, they've needed good quality hosts. Mel and Sue were spectacular.
Absolutely.
And then we've had Noel and Sandy, who are, again, brilliant and just amazing in their own way, in a very different way. What we've got in Canada is actually really cool.
Yeah.
So we've got Dan Levy, Eugene Levy's son, who's on Schitt's Creek.
Extremely camp, beautifully dressed, hair on point. Yeah, it was on Schitt's Creek. Because I'm looking at him going, I know him from somewhere. and I've had to look at. I'm like,
and he is a younger version of his father.
He really is.
He is a spitting image. And Julia Chan, the British actress, who she's wonderful, and her voiceover is quite cool too.
She is, and she's got this kind of Jenna Dewan Tatum kind of vibe going for her.
And in later episodes, we've sort of seen a bit of it. They work on the puns much like the Australian hosts do, and she's really good at them. She's very good at them. The judges are French chef Bruno, who is the former executive pastry chef at the Four Seasons hotels in New York and Vancouver.
Well,
so he's got a bit of back and behind.
Got a bit of cred.
And Rochelle Adonis, the Australian-Canadian pastry chef.
Yes, now it seems that I think she was born in Canada and is now living in Western Australia.
Yeah.
So we don't know her. Robert might, but we don't know her.
No, we don't know much about her. We're looking up. Oh, okay, that's quite cool. She runs. She's at the moment she's running Highgate. Yeah. So she's over at Highgate. So in Western Australia. But as you were saying, contrary to popular belief,
Western Australia is a fucking long way away from Sydney.
It's not close. Or miscellaneous city.
Miscellaneous city.
Miscellaneous city, not Sydney. We don't necessarily live in Sydney. We live in miscellaneous city. Might be close to Sydney.
Yes.
Really close to Sydney. In Sydney. One might say. Anyway, so let's get into this episode because it's Cake Week. Because you always open with a Cake Week.
Yes.
Unless you're the current series of British Bake Off, but we're not going to spoil that for you.
Yes.
But they don't open with a Cake Week. So they decided they wanted 24 cupcakes.
Where do you stand on cupcakes?
I don't. They're squishy.
I'm not a big fan of cupcakes. I find the fondant and buttercream ratio to cake is inappropriate.
I don't mind. Look, I don't mind a cupcake only because I'm not a big fan of, which sounds really weird for someone who does a lot of these shows about baking and sweet stuff. I'm not a massive sweets person, so a cupcake's the perfect size.
See, I love the prettiness of them. I think the decorating ability is amazing.
I think they're overdone. Yes. And I think they're over, like things like Cupcake Wars and things like that, I think ruin the idea of a cupcake. In the same way that, Cake Boss ruins the idea of cake design by just doing a bland cake, Rice Krispies, and a whole pile of crap over the top of it.
However, this challenge was all about flavour.
It was all about flavour.
And as Bruno said, he doesn't want a boring cupcake.
And it was really good because we got the starting point. On your marks, get set, bake, and instantly Corey's like, I've already made a mess. And the first thing that you hear is beer being opened. Thank you, our Canadian brothers.
Yes,
but it was the British. It was James who had opened the beer first.
Yes.
However,
fine stout.
However, Corey decided to one up that with whiskey.
And beer. He did too.
Yeah, well, James did the ginger stout. Corey did the chocolate beer and the maple whiskey. So basically what we're finding out here is that it doesn't matter where we are in the world.
No, boozing it up is
the principle of when in doubt, put booze in it. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
It is universal.
It is a universal truth that you just can't
A cake
ignore.
In need of booze is a winner.
So let's go through what the different options were. So the chocolate beer and the maple whiskey from Corey, they looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
They looked good.
Now, don't forget Sinclair. Mojitoed.
Yes.
Mojitoed his cupcake.
Yes, I've
seen a mojito in there, injectables.
He also went with a whiskey cream. So again, booze it up.
Yes.
It's an interesting sort of first challenge, I think, cupcakes. Because there's a lot of packing flavour into a small bite.
Yep.
Or in some people's cases, like Sinclair, not packing flavour into it.
I think something I really enjoyed is learning about a new ingredient, Saskatchewan berries. I didn't know they were a thing because obviously there's no Saskatchewan in Australia. I just have to wonder because Regina's in Saskatchewan. So
okay,
you get those berries in Regina.
My follow-up.
Do you like berries in Regina?
There's a lot of this, people. Just get ready. What I'm doubting with Saskatoon, not Saskatchewan, it was Saskatoon berries. So
were
unfortunately, yeah. It ruined your whole Regina joke.
Damn it!
However, the Saskatoon berry cupcakes by Jude, I'm starting to wonder if they're actually a real thing. And I say this with great love for Jude because, you see, Jude
is retired.
She'll tell you, Oh, she'll tell you. Jude looks like she should be the third party on tour with the with Great British Bake Off's Val and Great Australian Bake Off's Noel on their Listen to Your Bakes World tour. I think we've found the Canadian branch.
Yes.
It's Jude.
It's Jude.
Now, for anyone who's listened to our British Bake Off episodes, and if you haven't, I do encourage you, go back through the archives, check out our past episodes. Mm-hmm. We've put forward the theory that Val wandered onto the set away from a day bus trip from possibly a dementia home.
I just like to think that this is a government initiative that trying to get, they get placements for people in the community, like, that might have retired but need to get back out into the community and integrate. And, like, Bake Off gave one of their places to this program.
It was wonderful. Yeah. Every shot they have for Jude opens with the shot of her sitting in her garden tending to the flowers. Mm-hmm. Every single time. And by the way...
Oh, no, there was the time that she photographed her piece of cake, remember?
Oh, that's right, she photographed, but that was after she'd been in the garden with the flowers. And then... and then later on...
Cake.
And then later on, spoiler alert, her showstopper is Gnomes gardening as her.
Now I've got that Kim's Convenience thing in my head where it's like, oh, I know how this goes. Oh, Mr. Kim, take off your shirt.
Jude talking to the cakes.
Just take off your icing.
So Jude was making sailboats. Her breakfast banana maple and sassafras berry cupcakes were in sailboat form.
Now, there's one thing she forgot.
Yeah, well, they got to the judging, and when they got to the judging on hers, they turned around and went,
can't taste the maple.
I didn't get the flavour of the maple syrup. And they just turned to Jude and she goes, yeah, I think I forgot the maple syrup. They were banana maple cupcakes. It's in the name. It's in the name.
You know why? Because she was probably just singing to herself, Regina, experience.
That's never going to get old for you, is it?
No.
Okay, so Julian made his birch syrup and chocolate cream liqueur cupcake.
More booze.
Julian had some really cool ideas in this episode. I was very impressed with some of his ideas.
Now, he's also a contractor, so I just wonder if he's worked on homes and homes.
That would be cool.
That would be so cool.
This is not just us busting out everything Canadian we know. We do watch a lot of Canadian stuff.
Shows we do.
We legitimately do. But yeah, he's a bit of a contractor. Can you imagine him going, well, this sink's going to need a bit of fixing, a bit of replacing, but on the plus side, who wants cupcakes?
While we're waiting for the paint to dry, I'll just whip us up a batch of cookies, shall we?
You know what? I've just installed a new oven, and to test it out, I'm going to bake you a cake. So Linda. Now, Linda's a grandmother.
Yes. 5 grandkids, or 8 grandkids.
Yes. So
a very contented husband.
Now, she did lemon cupcakes, and she did Nanimo. I have no idea what they are. It's a chocolate bar. I think it's...
Maybe similar to a Mars bar?
It's either a Mars bar
or... kind of Snickers?
Yeah, we'll work that out. I will work that out.
Canadians are screaming at us. One Canadian listeners.
Yeah. Okay.
You goddamn stupid Australians with your shitty Canadian accents.
I've got it. Okay.
Okay.
No, it's a bit what I thought it was. It's like a bounty.
Ooh.
It consists of 3 layers: a wafer and coconut crumb base, custard flavoured butter icing in the middle, and a layer of chocolate ganache on top.
We've got to go see if they have them down at the International Candy Shop. Yeah,
we need to now. That sounds really cool. Right,
yeah.
And the judging was like, that's good flavour, and you can really taste that it's that. And it's like, you'd hope so. Pierre, poor Pierre. Look, Pierre was in trouble the whole day.
He just fucked up the ganache.
Pierre was in a lot of trouble from day one, from moment one of this show.
Yes.
His ganache didn't work. His cupcakes, the flavour was...
sweet.
It was very, very sweet. They sort of... The ganache didn't hold. This would be a theme, by the way, for poor Pierre. That whatever he made just didn't hold.
He's not very good with
liquids turning into solids.
Yes.
Which is not a good thing to be if you're a baker, right? You might want your liquids to hold into a solid.
He needs to hang out with the physicist, James, a bit more, you know.
What am I doing wrong? Yeah. All right, so the youngster of the group.
Oh, yes, young Sabrina.
That young 24-year-old. Tiramisu and cookies and cream cupcakes. Now, I did have to question Rochelle here with her judging.
Why?
Because she turned around when they were tasting it. First of all, they loved the flavour. But secondly, she said, well, I can clearly tell that's a cookies and cream cupcake. I don't know what gave it away. Was it the giant fucking cookie hanging out of the middle of the cupcake?
Is this an Oreo I spy? Now which cupcake is that going to belong to?
I don't know. You know what that might be? Tiramisu.
I know I get a cookie on top of my tiramisu.
As you should. Sinclair, as we said, his mojito idea was strong. His vision was really strong. His emotions were intense. Flavours, weak. He had everything with flavour. Terry made the cotton candy and the carrot cake cupcakes.
I'm surprised it wasn't crocodile flavoured. Crikey, it's a cupcake.
The cotton candy looked amazing.
Oh, yum. She had me at that.
The cotton candy looked amazing. The carrot cake cupcakes looked decent as well.
And then, like, serving it in that little wagon. You know,
and it was really funny because Rochelle was... Yeah, that was really cool too with the way that she presented it. But Rochelle was really...
You mean Michelle?
No, Rochelle.
Is it Rochelle?
Yeah, Rochelle.
Oh, I thought it was Michelle.
No, Rochelle. When she was judging...
rename people.
When she was judging it... well, you renamed it Terry Irwin. So when she was judging... When she was judging the cotton candy, she's like... It's lovely. Like, she ran out of words. I'm like, it's episode 1. Probably don't run out of your words this early on.
Grab the thesaurus.
Yeah, just don't run out of your words that early. And Vandana. So the chocolate rose and coconut key lime cupcakes. Now, rose is a bit of it's one of those flavours on Bake Off that frequently undoes people.
Yes, we've seen Matt and Maggie just hoik their nose up
because the rose gets too strong.
Too much rose.
Well, it's easy to do.
We needed more
Jack.
fucking... I was going to say Blanche.
Too much rose. We needed more Jack. But apparently the balance of the rose was quite good. But then she got the balance of the lime in the lime and coconut wrong. Now, I love the fact that rose is the difficult flavour. She got that one spot on. Lime and a key lime coconut. She got the lime wrong. So what she did was she put too much lime in the coconut and then drank it all up. And unfortunately, it was far too sweet. So the Battenberg cake, the technical was the Battenberg. Now, you had a few thoughts about this technical, didn't you? In terms of how cruel you thought they were being.
Here I am, right? Going, it's the Canadian Bake Off show. It's going to be so nice and sweet. And it's like an hour and 45 to pull out a Battenberg. I'm like, holy moly. Like, it's quite intense for a first start. There's no easing it into it. It's just like, bitches, please. And there were instructions missing already. There's a bit of a baptism of fire. So... good on Canadian Bake Off, like just kind of disproving stereotypes there.
Now we've seen Battenbergs a few times in Bake Off. Season 2 of British, Mary Berry set a Battenberg.
Yeah,
there's been a couple of Battenbergs.
Australia.
There's been a couple of Battenbergs. Sean Redgrave, winner of season 1 of Australia, the real season 1 of Australian Bake Off. If you're from overseas, ask us sometime. We'll explain it. But Sean Redgrave, she made a Battenberg as one of her main challenges as well.
Yep.
So Battenbergs have been quite common. Now, the idea of doing the Battenberg is, of course, you need the checkerboard pattern.
Yes.
That seemed lost on a few of them, who, when they were making their cakes, they worked out, you bake them side by side in the pan, they worked that bit out, that was fine. Although, as it said, just bake until done.
Which was I'm saying. It's like that I would expect about week 3.
Bake until done is a hilarious instruction, and it was always one of my favourite Mary Berries.
Yes. When
Mary Berry would set something ridiculous and go bake until cooked.
Yes, make a sponge.
Yeah, make a sponge. That's it. That's all you got to do. Then you had a couple of them put them, and they're like, "Oh, I've got stripes."
Yeah.
I've some of them. I can't remember who it was.
Terry made 4 layers.
That's right. Terry did 4. She did extra. She did bonus. I think it was Julian who did originally had them as on top of each other, and then had to knock them over and pull them apart because he suddenly realised he'd stacked them
and needed to flip
and had lines, so it didn't quite work out. So we had to work out how to do the checker pattern. But it was it's an interesting cake to do. It's always an interesting challenge. The fondant around the outside,
the
marzipan around the outside made it quite intriguing because there seemed to some of them be a gap between the marzipan and the cake. A couple of them. Let's not name anybody. Let's just, I don't know, I'll just sing, "Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Put the fucking jam in the middle of your Battenberg." Anyway.
Where's your jam? I forgot it.
I can't have Jude leave.
Jude is awesome.
I have so many references left, and I'm going to run out of time. I'm going to run out of time. There's no way she's last. She's going to forget a whole cake. We're going to have a challenge. Like, bread week is next week. We're going to have a whole challenge where they're like, "Where's your bread?" "Oh, shit, you have forgot something."
I've got the butter.
I'm retired.
I've got the jam. I remember the jam this time.
I'm retired. You know I'm retired? Just lazing back in the garden there. So Jude forgot the jam. A couple of them went with, I think James made what they referred to as a petite. It was tiny is what it was. So in the technical, Sinclair was 10th. Yes. Obviously that vision didn't really help him out. Pierre was 9th, which amazed me. And it amazed me because he wasn't 10th.
And his Battenberg kind of looked like a trapezoid.
Yeah, we went on a pyramid scheme. Fever, the trapezoid.
Double-layered marzipan on one side. Like, it was a little finesse.
It looked like he'd stepped on it. Like, it looked like on the way to taking it over to the King of Malta, he'd stepped on the Battenberg.
It's the Battenberg Hagrid had picked up for Harry, you know? Like, "I bought you a cake, a Battenberg, Harry."
It's a cake now, Harry. Yes. Julian was 8th. Terry was 7th, which surprised me. She doesn't
want to stand out because she's got to keep it.
Doesn't want anyone to recognise her.
No. She's like, "I'm gonna have to act like a mere mortal. I'm not a celebrity."
Sabrina was 6th. In the technical. James was 5th. Jude was somehow 4th without jam. 3rd was Linda. 2nd was Corey. Obviously, they were recovering still from the booze and just decided, second. And then Dana was 1st. Yes. So good for her. I mean, it's a good effort.
I thought she would have. I thought she was really looking good to get Star Baker at this point.
Well, yeah, so did I. I mean, especially since Terry did a great job on the first one, but then 7th in the technical.
Yeah.
But as we all know, the technical really doesn't matter because then we get to.
It's the whose line is it anyway round.
It really is. Then we get to the showstopper. The showstopper was a chocolate layer cake, and it wasn't just a chocolate layer cake.
No.
You needed to use how many types?
2 kinds of chocolate.
Unless you were, a couple of other people who decided to use more than 2. Maybe if you were...
Corey?
No, Corey did the milk and cookies cake. We'll talk about Corey in a minute.
Okay.
Because Corey decided to make the Nadia... He made the Nadia cake.
Yes.
But 4 at one point. White chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, blonde chocolate.
I'm surprised they didn't bring out the ruby chocolate.
The ruby chocolate didn't make an appearance yet. No ruby chocolate yet.
Prediction. Coming up, I reckon British Bake Off will have ruby chocolate. And I reckon Australian Bake Off will have ruby chocolate next year.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Can't wait to find out. All right, so the showstopper. So Corey, let's talk about Corey. Here are some words that rhyme with Corey. Story. Glory. Allegory, Montessori. And he obviously watched Nadia. And now that's not a shot.
No, it's an homage.
It's an homage.
Brilliant.
And one thing we've learned by talking to bakers, and we talked to Yan from the last series of Great British Bake Off, who is amazing, and Stephen as well from the last series of British Bake Off, who again is amazing. And they've said that they watched, before they went on, they watched every episode, every series of Bake Off they could get their hands on, including the Australian stuff, to get some ideas about different ways to do things. If you're going on, you want to know what they want.
Exactly. And what's possible within that time frame.
So, and again, it's not just a Nadia thing, but Nadia for Bake Off is probably the most famous for doing it with the soda pop. If you haven't seen Nadia's soda cake, what are you doing listening to us? Because you should just go watch that first.
Yes.
All right, so he did the milk and cookies cake. James went with the chocolate record player idea, which was great. Now, this is where his bench just became a war zone.
I was waiting for the last going over the trenches to happen. Like,
and Dan was in
English
the
officers.
whitest of white shirts.
Irishman.
And some of you will never come back alive. It was remarkable just how much... I mean, look, I'm a messy cook. I don't think I could have done that.
No, it was spectacular.
And there was a moment later on where...
The amount of pans.
But there was a moment later on where he was putting it all together and he turns around at the camera and he goes, you know what? This looks a lot better in my head. And he was right. It just looked like a brown box that was rotting, but the mirror glaze of the top deck looked great.
It did, and it kind of looked like, you know how you can get your kid to draw a picture and then get that picture turned into a toy? Yeah. It's like someone drawing a record player goes, I'll turn that into a cake.
So, let's go to Jude.
Jude, I think, let her inner gnomes out.
So
she's
again
awesome.
A chocolate ginger gnome. I think my batter's finally started to turn, and she's it's quite autonomous over here, Jude.
I'm making a pumpkin cream.
Oh, so she made a pumpkin cream, and then they've gone, right, so what are you doing on top? She goes, I'm making 3 gnomes, and she didn't bat an eyelid.
No,
like obviously they'd spent by this point a couple of days with her, and Julia Chant didn't bat an eyelid.
No, she just went, we're doing 3 gnomes.
Okay, 3 gnomes. And she goes, well, and this is possibly the most Canadian thing so far this series. They're like, well, the first gnome is like, you know...
Holding a pumpkin,
because, like, it's a pumpkin from my garden. And then the second one is just leaning back because he's retired. And, like, she put her hands behind her head, too, to mime leaning back like we didn't know what that was. And then she goes... But the third one is leaning forward and picking a flower, because while you're leaning back retired and leant back again and did the action, then sometimes you've got to lean forward and keep yourself active, like working in the garden. And it was one of the most Canadian things I've ever seen. Terry had the other one. We'll come to that in a minute.
Yes, but don't forget, Jude is the one at the beginning of the show who was talking about introducing all the ingredients together, and I'm like... They're so polite.
Yes.
She's even introducing inanimate objects that she's going to eat together.
Milk, flour, meet each other. This is wonderful.
Baking soda,
I forgot about
sugar.
that. She wanted to introduce the ingredients.
To get to know each other.
This is why she needs to be on tour with Val and Noel. They're listening to the bakes and she comes out as the opening act and introduces them.
The bakes, yeah.
It's wonderful.
Please welcome to the stage my good friend Baking Powder.
So Julian did his builder's cake. That looked really cool. He made the tools. He did the concrete around the outside. Yeah. And when they were judging it, and they've gone, it looks a bit rustic. And he's like, that's what I was going for. I didn't want it to look finished. And she's like, good call. And
the execution, when you saw the inside, was really neat. His layers were finessed. So the only thing I think he could have added was perhaps a little, like, either black dust or something around the edges just to give it a bit of depth with the concrete. But apart from that, it looked phenom.
So Linda did her chocolate raspberry layer cake, which looked quite pretty. I
love Linda. She's like this beautiful, elegant older lady, like a beautiful little black bob and just very long in her limb and her body. She's just like gazelle-like. She's really a nonna gazelle.
She's a nonna gazelle. So... I'm going to skip because we need to come back to Pierre. We need to talk about Pierre. We're not going to have time to talk about Pierre after this. So Vandana made the chocolate hazelnut cake. Now, they did an aerial shot of this first.
Looked great.
And then they did the normal shot. It looked horrible.
It's like there's people who are really good when you look at them front on, and then they go profile and you go, whoa.
So this looked like someone had just gone and got mud and like stacked some mud together and then left it. It was like if your 4-year-old had gone to the garden and made some mud pies and left them and then come back a couple of hours later and go, Mummy, mud pie.
And you're like, delicious, let me pretend to eat it. No, real, eat it. No, Mummy's going to pretend to eat that. No, Mummy, real, eat it. And it's like, I don't want fucking listeria. Insane child.
And she had a couple of raspberries on it to make it look good, and it just looked like the poor raspberries were growing. So that's why she didn't, unfortunately, get Star Baker. She probably would have had she not done that. Terry did get Star Baker.
Yes.
The chocolate and raspberry and pistachio layer cake, which looked quite good. And had
chocolate collar.
Yeah, and again, and acetates, as we well know, not a friend of most people.
And to throw people off and saying, I have 2 children, a boy and a girl. She's like, I've got 3 daughters. And she'd made a butterfly for each of them.
And each of them were different.
Yeah, and I like how she's dealing with pretty insects instead of, like, ugly reptiles. Like, to throw people off the set.
It's completely to fool everybody.
Yeah.
All right, the Galaxy Glaze cake that Sinclair made. Now,
Purdy.
Well,
except for the asteroids.
Part of it was pretty. So
the glaze was purdy.
Sinclair made it was a beautiful mirror glaze for the Galaxy Glaze, and again, a Galaxy Glaze. You see them on online all the time, and look, they're pretty. They're always pretty. But he then decided to do asteroids, and he kind of.
They look like what Scott Morrison brought into Parliament, just a lump of coal.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, that's the new Prime Minister. It's very hard to keep track.
Look, Australian Prime Ministers give you the lowdown apart from Julia Gillard. White, racist, rich men. Basically, that's what we get as Prime Ministers.
There you go. So, what happened was, he sort of put these... I think they were chocolate bonbons, but they didn't look like it. It looked like he dropped them on the floor and they picked up... No, they look more like chocolate bonbons, but they look like chocolate bonbons that are picked up like fluff and stuff. They dropped them on the floor and it's still good.
Whoops, cat hairs on this
and
bit.
just put it back on the... It didn't look good.
Fine.
It didn't look good. Sabrina... I love the way that she decided to work on her structural integrity by putting a number of fucking pipes through the middle of it. Like, because she goes,
this is staying up.
Because this is staying up. And she just pipes all the way through the middle of it. Cutting the cake must have been fun. And then...
She should have given...
She did the ice cream cone on top.
Yes, that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
very Master Chef-y.
Bit of an homage to Australian MasterChef there. Okay. Pierre.
Yes.
So, Pierre decided that he was going to do a mousse cake with the Gicon sponge around the outside.
Yes.
Now, the Gicon looked okay. There was a bit of a breach in the Gicon. I'm wondering if he didn't make the Gicon big enough.
It was informal in its thickness. It was
more than fucking informal.
It was casual. It was casual Friday.
It was casual Friday.
Casual Friday Gicon.
Worse still. In keeping with Pierre's tradition so far...
Of not being able to make liquid solid.
His mousse was still drinkable. And as a result, the dam burst and it just leaked out. And it
found the path of least resistance in that Gicon.
And he was so thrilled with it. They're like, a bit of a problem here. And he goes, yeah, the mousse didn't set. It's like...
There's no structural integrity in your mousse.
I'm disappointed as well because Pierre did reveal to us, of course, that he plays guitar. And they talked about next week we'll give you a guitar and you can sing for a bit. And the answer is no, because poor Pierre was going home.
But then we would have got some tea party for sure. There's some other Canadian bands.
I would have gone with the Hip.
The Tragically Hip.
I would have gone with the Hip. I've been trying to introduce you gradually to the Hip.
Look, I listened to...
Which is so far coming through you watching Anne with an E.
Yes.
And Ahead by a Century being the theme for that. Yes. Canadian people, I'm working on introducing her to the Tragically Hip, all right? Mm-hmm. If you've got a song that you want to suggest that she should, at the washing up...
Look, I know Weird Al Yankovic is Canadian, isn't he? Or is he American?
Yeah, no.
I'm just insulting everyone.
You are.
Educate me. Obviously, I'm ignorant.
Yeah, tell Kristie.
I'm an ignorant Australian.
Give your Twitter so that people can educate you on Canadian.
Muse, Madam K.
So at Muse, Madam K on Twitter.
Yes.
And you can educate her about all things Canadian.
Yes.
This is what I'm hoping for.
I want to become a good Canadian kid.
You want to be a good Canadian kid who can ice the puck?
Yes.
A nice combination there of both Don Cherry and Pierre Maguire. Anyway, so Pierre goes home. Terry is star baker, so that idea of her not stepping
Terry,
out.
she just couldn't help herself. She's like, I've got to prove myself. I'm a widow. I'm happily married with 3 children.
So next week is bread, and bread week's always pretty early, and it's always that week.
Buns of fun.
It's buns of fun, and we've seen a bit of it. Focaccia's a go-go.
A lot of people rise to the occasion.
Oh, you don't get into the puns. She already
Things
does
we
that.
need.
Don't steal any more of Julie Chen's puns. She doesn't need any more of them stolen. All right, so thank you for listening to this weird experiment of a podcast. We've enjoyed it.
Yes.
We really enjoyed Bake Off again because, again, for people who have listened, we've been talking to the Canadian audience that may or may not exist. For those of you who have only listened to us on MasterChef Australia, this is more it.
Yes.
All right? Not as ranty and, oh, my God, we hate things. It's this. It's fun. It's light. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. Now, closing comments is they've got a tent.
And more.
And it has a fucking patio.
Yeah, now, this is a
veranda.
Point. This is a point. There's a veranda. There's a patio. There's a lounge.
They've got, like, outdoor seating.
There's outdoor settings. There's, like, an umbrella. There's a table. What are we doing, Australia?
My only argument is that it looks more like a pavilion. Like, if you pop that up at Expo 88, it would not look out of practice.
So what we need is...
It does need some pennants flying, though, on the top.
It does, but what we've got realistically is... So I think the way that we're going to be able to distinguish between them is British Bake Off is the tent.
Yes.
The Great Australian Bake Off is the shed.
Yes.
I think from here on in, regardless of what you want to call it, I think we're going to refer to the Great Canadian Bake Off, and we're going to, first of all, call it that.
Yeah.
But secondly... I think it's a pavilion.
It's the pavilion.
So we've got the shed, we've got the tent, we've got the pavilion.
Pavilion, yes.
I think that's a nice way to go about it. It's a good way to remember which show we're talking about. So that's your lot for this week. Anyway, thank you for listening in. If you've never listened to us before, thank you for having a bit of a ride. Come with us on the journey. It's good fun. If you listen to us a lot, hey, Brendan. Hey, Leah. Hey, everyone else. Hey, Josh. And we will catch you. I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
We will catch you all later.
Ciao, ciao.